men walked into the rainforest. One man had an axe and gave it to the other man. He pointed to the Great Kaypoc Tree and said, "Chop that tree down."
Chop that tree down.
The man took a mighty swing at the tree. He grew tired. He wiped his forehead and he sat down to rest at the Great Kaypoc Tree. Two boa constrictors living in a tree slithered over to the sleeping man. And they got closer. And they said to the sleeping man, "Senor,
Senor,
this tree is a tree of miracles.
this tree is a tree of miracles.
It is my home,
It is my home.
where generations of my ancestors have lived.
Generations of my ancestors have lived.
Do not chop it down."
Do not chop it down.
And they slithered back to where they were sleeping. A bumblebee buzzed over to the sleeping man. And he said to the sleeping man, "Senor,
Senor,
my hive
my hive
is in this
is
tree.
in this tree.
And I fly from tree to tree,
And fly from tree to tree.
and flower to flower,
And flower to flower.
collecting pollen.
Collect pollen.
In this way,
In this way,
I pollinate the trees
I pollinate the trees
and flowers
and flowers
throughout the rainforest.
throughout the rainforest.
You see,
You see,
all living things
all living things
depend on one another."
depend on one another.
And he flew back to his hive. A group of monkeys scampered over to the sleeping man. And they said to the sleeping man, "Senor,
Senor,
we have seen the ways of man. You chopped down one tree
you chop down one tree
and another.
and another.
The roots of these great trees
These great trees
will wither and die,
will wither and die,
and there will be nothing left
and there will be nothing left
to hold the earth in place.
to hold the earth in place.
When the heavy rains come,
When the heavy rains come,
the soil will be washed away,
the soil will be washed away,
and the forest
the forest
will become a desert."
will become a desert.
They scampered back to their treetops.
Rah, rah.
Tropical birds flew over to the sleeping man. And they flew close and they said to the sleeping man, "Senor,
Senor,
you must not
you must not
cut down this tree.
cut down this tree.
We have flown over the rainforest
We have flown over the rainforest
and seen what happens
and seen what happens
once you begin to chop down the trees.
once you begin to chop down the trees.
Many people
Many people
settle on the land.
settle on the land.
They set fires
They set fire
to clear the underbush,
to clear the underbrush.
and soon the forest disappears.
And soon the forest disappears.
Where once there was life
Where once there was life
and beauty,
and beauty.
only black and smoldering ruins remain."
And black and smoldering ruins and rain.
And they flew back to the canopy. Small tree frogs hopped over to the sleeping man. And they said to the sleeping man, "Senor,
Senor,
a ruined rainforest
I ruined rainforest.
means ruined lives,
It ruined lives.
many ruined lives.
Many ruined lives.
You will leave many of us homeless
You'll leave many of us homeless
if you chop down this great tree."
if you chop down this great tree.
And he hopped back to his hiding place. A jaguar, who had been sleeping along the branch in the middle of the tree because his coat had been blended into the lights and shadow, leapt down and padded silently over to the sleeping man. He growled in his ear and said, "Senor, the Kaypoc Tree
Kaypoc Tree
is home to many birds
is home to many bulls
and animals.
and animals.
If you cut it down,
If you cut it,
where will I find my dinner?"
where would I find it?
He turned and left the sleeping man. 3 porcupines swung down from branch to branch and waddled over to the sleeping man and said to his ear, "Senor, you know what we animals and humans need?
You know what we animals and
In order to live,
in order to live,
oxygen.
oxygen.
And senor,
And senor,
do you know what trees produce?
and you know what trees produce?
Oxygen.
Oxygen.
If you cut down the forest,
If you put down this forest,
you will destroy
you will destroy
that which gives us all life.
that which gives us all life.
The tree porcupine waddled back to where he was hiding. An anteater climbed down from the kapok tree and went over to the sleeping man and said to him, Senor,
Senor,
you are chopping down this tree
you are chopping down this tree
with no thought for the future.
with no thought for the future.
And surely you know
Surely you know
what happens tomorrow
what happens tomorrow,
depends on what you do today.
which we tend to do today.
The man told you to chop down the tree.
The man told you to chop down the tree.
He does not think of his own children,
You do not think of your own children.
who tomorrow must live in a world
For tomorrow lives in a world
without trees.
without trees.
And the anteater went back to his home. 3 toad sloths had begun climbing down from the canopy when the men first came in, and they walked over ever so slowly and said to the sleeping man, Senor,
Senor,
how much is beauty worth?
how much is beauty worth?
Can you live without it?
Can you live without it?
If you destroy the beauty of the rainforest,
If you destroy the beauty of the rainforest,
on what will you feast your eyes?
on what will you feast your eyes?
And they slowly padded back to where they were resting. A child from the Yanomano tribe went over to the sleeping man, and he said to the man, Senor,
Senor,
when you awake,
when you awake,
please look upon us all
please upon us all
with new eyes.
with new eyes.
The man stirred and started to stretch. He sat up, looked at the child, picked up his axe, looked at the tree, swung his axe back, and stopped. He dropped his axe and walked out of the rainforest. That was pretty good.